Right, and we will be looking forward to some lovely poetry this evening. And I'm now going to hand over to Carl, the editor of New Coin.
Thank you very much, Crystal Rowan. Thank you. Thanks. Well, I'm quite excited to be launching this issue, the December issue. We've obviously run a little bit late, but the great thing is they say better late than never. And we are slowly catching up with obviously where we are behind with production. But most importantly, what I can say is that within this issue of New Coin, we have an incredibly exciting range of South African poets, voices that really depict the actuality of things, that depict the way things are in society currently, but not only that, voices that are able to penetrate deep into reality and really, in a sense, reveal occluded sides through powerful and lyrical imagery. So obviously, a lot of you will know about New Coin, a little bit of background, obviously, for those who might not know so much. New Coin, prestigious journal, it's been around for 56 years. And throughout its history, it's had a reputation of publishing some of like the really most innovative voices in South African poetry. So that's an exciting thing. It has a great tradition, a great legacy. And what's nice is that we are able to now continue with obviously the strong legacy and keep developing it further with new voices coming along, even more established voices producing new and really exciting work on a like consistent, like basic quality in that. So that's the exciting thing. And for me, it's been quite enjoyable reading all the different poems that come through from obviously different writers and the different technical approaches. And what I also noticed, having now edited a couple of issues of New Coin, is there's ways in which even different writers are influencing each other. Because what tends to happen when you have writers, they're together in a journal, they read each other's work, and with all the different technical innovations they might be doing, different approaches to themes and things like that, there's this constant growth that happens. So that to me is one of the exciting things what I've observed over the last couple of issues, where different writers, I think, even have been influenced by each other. And I believe the work that's being produced now in this early part of the 2020s, I think by the end of this decade, we'll have a really strong body of work to even possibly put together some anthology or something. But obviously that's going quite ahead of ourselves, but that shows you obviously there's a lot of work that really speaks to the state of things now. So without too much further ado, I'm going to run through very quickly the list again of the poets we'll be reading tonight. So I think a couple more have joined us since we spoke earlier before we started the launch. So basically what we'll be doing with each of those poets, we'll be reading one of your poems that's in the actual issue. Then we'll have the very brief like sort of discussion. Obviously we're all question answer session. Then once we've done that, we'll have time possibly to read one more poem. That is if you had a second poem in the issue. So the order of poets basically will be starting with teamhw, then Allan Kolsky-Hortz, then Quasi, are you here? No, I don't think Quasi made it, okay. Then Symons, okay, I see Symons has joined us, okay. Then it'll be a poem by Richard Fox. And then Zodwa, are you there, Zodwa Mtawara? I see there's a Zodwa Tutani, but I don't know if, I don't see Zodwa Mtawara, okay. If you're not there, okay, then after it will be Zizipho next, and then Demakatso. So that'll be the order of poems. So each person will read one poem. So I think what we'll do, we'll start with, there Quasi has just joined us. Wonderful. I see Quasi is just joining us now. Let's just give him a second just to come online. That's great news.
While we're waiting, Carl, sorry to jump in. I was meant to say at the beginning, we are recording the reading. So just so that you will be able to access it afterwards if you have friends who didn't make it, but just so that for full disclosure, so everyone knows.
Yeah. Yeah, no secret recordings. All right, I see Quasi has joined us. Welcome, Quasi.
Everyone.
Glad you could make it.
Thanks, bro.
Awesome. So I'll just repeat again.
Are you able, can you see me?
Can't see you, but I can hear you.
Are you able to see me?
Can't see you now.
Okay, let me try and set that one out. Just a minute.
No stress. Okay, while you set it out, I'll just quickly repeat the order. We're going to start with teamhw. Straight after teamhw will be Allan. After Allan, Quasi will be reading third basically. So it's teamhw, Allan, then you Quasi. And then after Quasi, Symons, Richard Fox, Zizipho, and then Demakatso. So So we'll give you a few seconds just to get yourself ready, and then we'll start with teamhw. So teamhw, you can start getting ready, and I'll tell you when you can start. Just make sure you're ready, and then I'll let you start in a few seconds. And then Kwazi, once you have found your camera, once you've got your camera activated, you can then temporarily mute yourself, and then until it's your time to read, and that's.
Okay. Also, Kyle, I receive in fact the poem that I'm required to read. Like I couldn't access the thing.
The text, you couldn't access the text. All right.
Yes.
Check on your email. I send it through on your email. Or what I'll do, okay, I'll put you then at the end of the readers. Then I'm going to send it through now again to your email that you'll receive it now. I'll put you at the end of the readers then. So after Dimakatso, then you by that time you. All right, okay, guys. I think let's get started. We'll start with teamhw, then Allan. All right, so over to you, teamhw.
Okay. The name of the poem is entitled A. Untitled A. My mind's eye need glasses. My ear a locksmith. My mind needs glue. My paranoia needs something stronger than risperidone. My low libido needs a prayer. A quick answer to that prayer too. My impatience need years of waiting. Both my double personas need a major reconstruction. My lazy body needs an electric shock. My fatigue and unwillingness to engage in anything needs major counseling. 8 or 9 counselors giving themselves time with me and my insane mind. My soul needs nothing. I don't know where it is, and I don't want to know. My guilty conscience needs to give me a break. I need a protection order from my scary thoughts. Tracks in my head have been rearranged. The train of thoughts no longer leads to the destination on the ticket.
Okay, thank you, teamhw. Then on to Allan Kolsky-Horwitz.
Hi everyone. The poem I'm going to read basically, took about 2-3 years for me during the Zuma regime to hit a very, very low point. I was in a deep depression about what's happening in Mzansi. It looked like there's no way forward. And what's happened over the last few days, we had looting at the top, and now we've got looting at the bottom. So really, we're caught in a terrible sandwich. This poem is entitled, When the Outside Corruption Seeps into You, and days stretch, and to catch breath, you cry with the pang of a young buck trapped in mud, straining the heart. You clench, sniff hard, snatch madly at what's to hand before you fall. But no, you will not surrender to shadows. You will not allow their burdens, their gross greed to rule. So you sniff, unlock your anger, feel your mind send clear juice to its territories, and stand in the sun. Flex, breathe deep. Yes, you stand in the sun. Cast off the rancid crust, ready to wriggle into your next skin.
Okay, thank you, Allan. Thank you very much. We'll go on now to Stephen Symons. Thank you again.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Thanks so much, Kyle, and to Crystal for allowing me to read my poem. It's called Two Owls Roosting. Two owls roosting. At midnight, the world became a coal seam. Tranquility took the form of asphalt, and discovery of two owls roosting on an instant of frosted lightning. They split the night, using two sad notes until they'd used up all of the city's loneliness. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks. And now we'll pass on to Richard Fox.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to read a poem called Monstrosity. How clean the picking clean of bones, how upright the righteous beams of homes, how straight and narrow our streets, and the lamplight turned fluorescence, turned neon, turned carbon neutered in the gorgeous nighttime of endless unwinding pleasures. In the laundromat of the gods, odd socks wash up wide-eyed and awestruck, and in singles and newfound pairs, file out into the heaving throng seeking adventure, new feet. I would say join us, but you remain excluded, fed upon. You experience the concrete closer than most, on your knees, hands cupped, close enough to see each stain captured in high definition HDMI, fed into a nice cheap grave somewhere far, far out of the city with its smokestacks and your suit. We've learned a new language in the absence of space. All the time in the world captioned to micro-finite precision, where catching a train becomes a psychometric evaluation. Can we do it? Can we cut it so fine that we save ourselves seconds, which add up to minutes, hours eventual, as if living is a giant piggy bank and we can spend it on Instagram taking selfies in other cities? I called out to the ancients from the highest promontory with public access, which was only 35 stories high. I could see all around me as we were pressed rough against the glass like some bullet train through Tokyo that doesn't stop, that doesn't pass through any stations. I called out in the voice of ravens, in the voice of doves and seagulls, in the voice of swans and displaced Canadian geese. I called out in the voice of foxes and badgers right before the coal. I called out in the voice of Babylon, every language under God, rolled off so many tongues to become indistinct. I called out before jumping and flying to the sun. The city is our monstrosity. With all our predators gone, we don't need to gather in such numbers, but we do. We are being eaten at the edges as we are pushed towards the core. Perhaps the darkness in our souls is greater than the sum of this artificial light.
Thank you very much, Richard. Thanks. We'll now pass on to Zizipho.
Hello, everyone. The poem that I'm going to be reading is called Clutch. This is about finding stillness in the midst of chaos and anxiety. Clutch. I am standing still. The sky swoons over my glaring soul. The moon in angst over a lover who fell on my shoulders. Everything pressing on me to move, put the stars back in their place, configure the clouds into a neat nebulous, the ground down below my feet, stop spinning, ask my head, be still, darling, so that I may move away from the haze, with all of my body together in one collection of tremor and rest. Tell my eyes, don't look down. When you are scared, stop shaking, plead with the wind, swing my hesitating hands to halt. In my heart, I have always been wondering how to hold on to one single moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Zizipho. And then just before we pass on to Democrato, I must comment that it's really exciting, having read these poems for quite a long time. When you're putting the magazine together, it's really nice to go to even hear the poems spoken aloud. just that extra texture to, like, the words that you've been reading over and over again. And it's quite exciting hearing all of you reading your poems. It's really wonderful. So I'll now pass over to Demokatso.
Thank you, Kyle. The title of the poem I'll be reading is 180. When he asks for me, tell him I'm under a silhouette of leaves to read the poem or two in a Midtown accent. I've dusted those raspberry boots that clasp the tightness of skin, a calf more sinewy than life, if you know what I mean. Even the blue in my bedroom senses about to unravel. Tell him I'm going to soften the hardness of words, next to rust and second-hand time. I'm shreds. He'll have to be fragrance to find me. I'm in poses like forensics and byhook. My petticoat sheds of rags. They lie on the sidewalk, defeated. Horizon across town is laced in my phenomenon. Tell him the stove has gone cold. The blade stopped. My calf has slid into the stiletto suede, the shade of black. Yep, the one I blew my fortnight wages on. I'm taking a chance with the wind, for its flap seems to bet like the one-way ticket economy ticket in my hand. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Is Kwazi Tlangisa, are you back? I don't know. Are you there? Ah, there you go. Awesome. Okay. Perfect. You'll be next. Can you unmute yourself? I think we're struggling to hear you. Can you just unmute yourself? I think you're unmuted at the moment.
I forgot to unmute myself.
Awesome, awesome, thanks.
Distracts everyone when they are reading. So yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kwazi Tlangisa. A few poems. The first poem that Kyle requested me to read is titled, I Am One with the Wind. Perhaps I should first read the original one, titled Ngiyingxenye yomoya. Inyanga isigcwale izihlandla zantathu ngivika ukufa. Nginqanda umphefumulo lapho uphatha ukungiphunyuka. Ngingaqali-ke nokho nokuzibona nginyamalala ngiba yingxenye yomoya. Ukankawu useke wavuka ngobumnyama eyongicinga emalibeni, ekhuza ibhadi ekhala ethi, kungani engalwanga ngokudlula kwami emhlabeni. Umoya umhlebela ukuba sengivakashele kwelamathongo. Sekungathi-ke manje usephambana ngekhanda, kanti ithongo likhanyisa imfihlakalo. Hleze indodana itshethe ifu elimnyama. Eqinisweni lokhu kufike njengesikhumbuzo sokuba mina ngisamelwe ukakho konke okungenza ngibe yimi. Inga ukuxhumanisa imimoya emihle engembethe nomoya wami. Umoya wami nokuguquguquka kwesimomqondo. Imlayezo evela kwizithunywa zikaMenzi, ngiyamukela kanjani ngisehlulwa ukuzamukela mina kimi. Amaxhegokazi asafika izihlandla zazine eminyakeni ehlukahlukene, engitshengisa ukukhanya okuthukuswe ethunzini. ngakhala ngokuba bonke bakhuluma ulimi lasemkhathini, ngalibala ukufunda umuzwa womlayezo kwiphunga lomoya. Impilo indala kakhulu kunomuntu, injalo nje ibanzi. Uma ufuna ukuyizwa nxa ikhuluma nawe, kufuze ufunde ukuzilibala bonke. Fika empilweni uhambaze, wafika empilweni uhambaze. Impilo kayizazi izifundiso zezwe, kepha iyazi isibuko sayo. And then the translation to that poem that Ukai titled I Am One with the Wind, it goes like, I have experienced 3 full moons while ducking away from death, suppressing my soul from ascending. Although it was not the first time I witnessed myself disappearing to the whispering wind, once woke up in the face of the stars to search for me in the graveyard. She screamed, she cried, saying, why wasn't she told of my transitioning? The wind was telling her that I have ascended to the world of the dead. It now looks as if she has lost her mind, yet the ancestors are revealing the untold. Perhaps the sun is weighed down by the dark cloud. In fact, this came to me as a reminder that I still need to hold a meeting with everything that makes me me. The challenge is to connect the good energies that embody my soul and the shift of the form of the mind. How do I accept the messages from the messengers of the Creator? When I struggle accepting myself, the greater she forces have appeared 4 times in different years, showing me the light tucked in the corner of darkness. My concern was that they all spoke the language of the higher world. I forgot to read the feeling of the message from the smell of the wind. Life is older than us, yet it is as vast. If you want to hear it talk, you have to learn to forget. You have to learn to forget yourself, all of yourself. Arrive at life in your nakedness. You came to life naked. Life doesn't know the teachings of the world, but it knows its reflection, your nakedness. And then the last poem is titled, The Dream. It's one of my favorite poems. Last night, I gazed my thoughts on the walls of my, okay, can I start afresh? Last night, I grazed my thoughts on the walls of a warm smile and felt at home. Today, my breath inscribed love songs on the cloud's face. Wear your dance shoes. I think you didn't hear the call. Let me start afresh. It's titled The Dream. Last night on the walls of your warm smile and felt at home. Today, space. Wear your dance shoes tonight and wait for the rain. I had to repeat it twice. It's my favorite poem. Thank you so much. Kyle, are you there?
I think we've lost Carl again. I'm not seeing him. So he will hopefully come back. He was having some connectivity issues.
Oh, technical
I will let
issues.
him in. Okay, I think, am I right? Was that the last person for the first round? So while we're waiting for Carl, I'm just checking in the chats. Harry Owen says, love those owls. And yes. And my own comment was, I love the phrase, configure the clouds. I forget who. So I think, okay. I don't see any more comments in the chat. So I think maybe we start the next.
Yeah, Kyle just sent a message. He says the power went off from his side.
So, all right. So I think I have got I think teamhw is the next person. I think, and again, so everyone can read, and then if people have comments, put them in the chat, and then we'll go from there and see what we can do. Okay, teamhw.
Okay, this one is titled Here It Goes Again. Here it goes again. Listening to M. Rabanya's Volume 1 at Volume 60. There's insight my old soul is refusing to share. I have been pointed with a gun 3 times, and all 3 times I was the one holding the gun. I have been lied to by my imagination and my fears. I have died 8 deaths, and all 8 times I did the killing and the burying. My ego once hung me on my room's roof, but the thought of my neighbor's laughter did not allow me to kick the chair. That was one night. I was young. Oh, the ego. I have been pointed with the gun 3 times, and all 3 times I was a coward. When it was time to stand up and be counted, I lied down and chose to be counted out. There are secrets my heart is not telling my mind. Oh, the ego.
Thank you for that. Allan, I think, have you got a second poem to read? Allan, you're up next.
Okay. The second poem, very different to the first one. In phoning big companies, corporations, one's generally put through to a call center, completely impersonal and generally very unsatisfying. And yet I had a chat with someone called Zama Dlangamandla at Momentum a few years ago, which proved very different. There was a certain chemistry and not with an automaton. The name means eat with power, but she doesn't know why. It came about in bygone times, this pride in satisfying the appetites. Her voice, a murmuring of conditions and terms, measured modulation of options, policies and percentages, bonuses and dividends. And the man she is speaking to praises her poise, her professionalism, her polish. His voice softens as she listens. Soon each word a murmur. What more can be said? They both know they are being recorded.
letting Carl is coming back in now, so that's great. And while we're getting that in, thank you, Allan. Stephen, I think you're up next.
I'm going to be reading a recent poem that I have just written, in fact, and it was, I think I read it about 2 weeks ago, but at another reading, but I think it's pretty apt for today. I'm just finding it. It's titled The Song of a Bullet. The song of a bullet cares less for its instrument and nothing for its composer. It knows only the sound of its own voice whispering through space towards a target. The song of a bullet is written in the key of muscle ripping, of bone, stone, and bark splintering, and the faint expulsion of last breath. The song of the bullet is also the song of the hunter, and the song of the soldier, and the song of the gangster. As a nail is a child of a hammer, a bullet is the love child of a gun. One day, a man told me he had shot 200 birds. Another man told me he had shot 200 terrorists. A gangster explained some bullets write their own songs. They are like stray dogs roaming a bad neighborhood. They are proud of their arrangements and the unique notes of their compositions. The beautiful arc of tracer stitching across the night sky. The way a buck flinches in surprise and then spins in earnest as if trying to cast off death. They told me it was a spiritual moment and a necessary final verse for the many songbooks of their bullets. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Richard, have you got another poem for us?
Thanks, everyone. This one's called Abuse. Draw a line, cross it out. Catch a bird, set it free, burn the cage. Take the twisted metal spokes, poke out both eyes. These are not tears. This is the blood of my enemies. This is an open coast at dawn. Both lungs, both arms, one voice pierce the dark. Run into walls, scrape the plaster, reveal the rough bone. Nails that continue to pull away from the cuticle even in death. Eat the core, grasp the machine by the throat, chase mechanical dragons, eat the dual core, both jaws, both hands, one heart. This is not the blood of my enemies. This is the burning memory, the pyre, the taste and texture of sin. Count your blessings, peel off notes to pay the gods. The wind that drives the dancing flames takes everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Carl's still not here. Thank you, Richard. Zizipho?
Yes. My next poem is called Blackburn, South Point. Strange things have grown out of the ground. Stranger things have fallen out of the sky. A garden sprouts from a single seed, or a figure offers itself into the air. Is it possible for a flower to grow inward, like the place we go to hide within ourselves? Is there a special kind of love that comforts there? Are there gardens we have grown only for our hearts to grieve in, where nothing else enters but our fears and folds? A story of love and courage is such sacrifice, makes our feet forget when we are facing ourselves upside dangling, makes our lives meaningful when we stare with our heads behind our necks at all we have left. I believe she felt the ground was too heavy for her. I think she knew she could fly elsewhere and never return. All she wanted was to be as light as air. To become it, she had to give herself to the sky. Thank you.
Thank you, Zizipho. Mzikayise, you got another poem for us?
Thank you. This one actually appeared in the December 2019 issue of New Code, but I would read it because of its relevance right now in South Africa. It's about the looting. The title of the poem is Shah's Crushed Cash Counters. Shah's heart hides behind the peel of his skin, freezing in the closeness of his fears as layers of men, hands, nails, and women breathe one another's haste inside his shop, ripping out the store's bowels like yolk from a mother's shell. Crushed cash counters lie below crates of color staggering out of this pencil-scribbled chaos, spilling into gaping mouths of houses, hunger and babalas, leaving windows stunned like eyes poked into pits. Here where stories swarm like ants. I swear I was 21 just last night, but now my skin cracks into peeling mud, growing gray like shame that wakes up to live for nothing on a day trapped between Tuesday and Wednesday. At 21, we climbed cliffs with nails and teeth, hid between our women's dresses and our grandfathers' wall pictures, bolder than noses, sexier than the hardness of hips. Now we are 40 years old, looking like marbles lost inside Shah's shop. We are a museum of dull, damp sculptures dripping with history steeper than walls of words, drifting on dukes, dancing with the air, befuddled by anger tearing us apart like threads of chicken flesh, chasing hate like rice toasting in the stupor of space. Thank you.
Thank you. And then I think I've got Quasi down as the next person, or have I missed someone? I'm not sure with the other poets. Is that okay? Then Quasi, if you want to read your second poem.
No, I think you missed someone. I've already read
Okay,
about 3
all
poems.
right. Okay, cool. Okay. Did I miss any of the poets? Did everyone get a chance to read in that round? Okay. All right. I'm just looking oh, sorry, my mouse has died on me. So there's some comments rather than questions. Same. Someone says, hunger and babalas, each naledi. Bullets are making their mark, as are these laconic, understated personas. And then that was very powerful, Zipho. Beautiful, Richard. Nice poem, Horwitz. Any questions that anyone wants to put to the poets, any of the poets, or any comments at this point?
Yeah, Krista.
Oh.
Yes, it's Mzi. Can I ask
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to ask a question from Tim Hall, the first poet.
Huh?
Tim. I don't have his name. Yeah, Tim Hall. Tim, when you read your first poem, I thought maybe you had an emotional problem, you know. I thought maybe you had at that time you were spiritually down, and you read the same poem, but it was all on the same path. Now that makes me force me to ask you a question. How is your attitude towards life now? How is your attitude towards life? How do you find life?
It's been the same. My experience of life doesn't change that much. I grow, but the picture doesn't change that much. But my art includes everything I feel. Kyle chose these ones, that there are others which are much happier.
Thank you. Allan has got your hand up. Are you wanting to ask a new question, or are you going to respond to the question in the chat? So Allan, you're on.
No, just to respond to the question in the chat, what's depressed me about the looting? Well, that is a very simple question to answer. I mean, given where we are, to go back and talk about, we've got the legacies of apartheid, colonialism, slave labor, and is this the best we can do to deal with this? Is this our liberation? So it's very, very dispiriting to see how this new South Africa is panning out. And there's no leadership, whether it's from the working class or the capitalist class. So we are adrift. And as we know, when you're adrift in mid-ocean, you're looking for trouble. So basically the looting, a luta continua, has turned everything around, and we're really facing a meltdown, an economic and social political meltdown, unless there really is a new consciousness. Thank you.
I think Robert's comment there is a very appropriate one to respond with, as I think we're all feeling a bit distressed with the events of the last few days. South African poetry, at least these poems, is in very good health, thanks to all of you poets and to great choices by Carl. And I think that is a sentiment to be echoed. It's been wonderful to hear these poems, to hear the poets reading them. And I think there's been some really powerful poems. So I think we're going to end off there. I don't know if people want to put their cameras back on briefly. So
Crystal,
yes?
It's unfair to the young men, because when you write anything and you write for the public, sometimes you need help. You say kind of a cry for help. Now we need to respond positively to that young man. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think thank you for reading your poems and for sharing. And thank you everyone who's come and who's listened. And I suspect that we're braving the cold across the country. So yes, and someone just said, night of poetry we all needed. Yes, so let's all give the poets a quick round of applause. I think that was lovely. Thank you, everyone. And before you go, just to remind, we're having launches every evening at 6 o'clock. So tomorrow we're launching Anarchy and the Sea, a collection by Amitabh Mitra. And I hope that you will join us for that as well. Thank you, everyone.